Okay, I'm going to cover the top 10 aftermarket modifications on a Jeep Wrangler. This is a 2013 Sahara. A lot of people, when they buy a Wrangler or they start looking for a Wrangler, they're kind of shocked by the price. Wranglers tend to be one of the more desirable, I would say the most desirable Jeeps that were made. And for that reason, they seem to be a lot more expensive than one would think. So when you're looking, if you haven't bought a Jeep yet and you're considering buying one, they are definitely something that is going to cost you a little bit more, but in my mind is well worth the investment, because when you sell the Jeep, it'll hold its value really well, and it's kind of like the Harley Davidson of cars or trucks, right? So when you invest a little bit of money and you buy a Jeep, don't worry about it, because when you go to sell it, you're going to get that money back, and it'll be just like a regular car. You're not going to get a lot less for it when you sell it than you paid. So what I'm going to cover today is the top 10 modifications in my mind that you can do, and these range from $50 all the way to maybe in the $3,000, $4,000 range. And I'm gonna go top to bottom, 1 through 10, in my mind, in that order of which one is gonna give you the best look and feel based on the priority of the order. So obviously the top one is gonna be the best thing you can do to it. And I'll go through each one, give you just a real high level overview of why I think it's a good thing to do. And then at the end, you can decide, if you want to do something, or you'll have more knowledge about what it's going to cost and or do, and what it's going to look like too, because that's really ultimately what you're going for, is the uniqueness of what you've done to make it kind of a individual thing that's tailored to your taste and to what you want. Okay, let's get right into it. So the number one thing that you can do on these is the lift kit and tires and rims. So tires, rims, lift kit, you can do all that at the same time, and you want to do all that at the same time, because that's going to give you a real step up in look and feel, especially looks, and especially if you're going to use it off-road. You don't want to sit low on the ground. From the factory, they come pretty low, so ground clearance is kind of an issue if you're going to be off-roading. And also for us, it was just look and feel, right? We just like the look of a Jeep when it's jacked up a little bit and it's got a little beefier tire in there. So your options with lift kits are all over the place. So if you decide you want one, you can shop around and do your own research. I'm not going to try to sell you one brand or another, but I will talk a little bit about the heights. The two very common heights are 3-inch and 6-inch. Most people go for the 3-inch just because it's going to retain comfort and rideability. Let's face it, most people use the Jeep really not for off-roading so much. They use it more for either an everyday driver or a second vehicle to enjoy on the weekends. So you're going to drive it on the road quite a bit mostly still. And if you go with a 6-inch, it looks really nice, it does. And I think the look on the 6-inch is really, really nice, and definitely something to consider. But if you want to maintain your drivability, the comfort, the smoothness of a regular daily vehicle, and still get some decent looks from the lift, go with a 3-inch. The 3-inch lift kit is going to cost you a little bit less and be a little bit easier as well, because you don't have to change out as much of the suspension components as the 3-inch. So you can retain a lot of the factory parts, if that makes any sense. So we went with a 3-inch lift kit, and I want to say it was from Terra and Terra Grapple tires. So I think Terra is the actual manufacturer of the lift kit as well. So ours has a 3-inch Terra lift on it, and it has 35-inch grapple tires, and it has Mickey Thompson rims, just a standard, nothing too fancy, just a flat black finish Mickey Thompson rim. So that's what we did on ours with the 3-inch lift, and you're looking at about $3,000, $4,000 with everything on that. And we did the install ourselves, but you could probably get somebody to install it at a pretty decent price because a 3-inch isn't that bad. Get into a 6-inch, it's going to cost a little more because they have to tear it down a little further to get that 6-inch rise out of the body and the frame. It's not gonna retain a lot of the factory parts, which makes you take off more factory parts, which costs a little bit more in labor. But long story short, this is the #1 mod that you can do that will give you just a drastic change look and feel. If you saw this Jeep stock, it would look nothing like this. It would be sitting a lot lower on a regular set of highway tires with a factory set of rims. So that's the first mod. Definitely recommend it. You'll get a drastic bump in look, and you'll retain the drivability and the feel. If you go 3-inch, you go 6-inch, it's going to look even better, but just keep in mind it's going to cost you a little bit more, and your drivability is going to go down even more. So if you don't like the bumpy rides, the 6-inch will give you a very bumpy ride, obviously, but the look will be probably the best at a 6-inch. I would recommend a 3. So that's the first mod. All right, the second modification I would recommend is something called a bestop. And what this does is, especially if you have a hard top, this is going to be just a great thing to have to make it super easy. Let's say the weather turns nice all of a sudden and you want to just take the top down and you're out, right? You don't have to be at home. The whole design of this is just like a convertible car. You flip 2 levers and the top's down, right? There's no reason to go back to the house to take stuff off and put it on a shelf. My biggest challenge with the Jeep Wranglers is that with the tops, you always, the factory tops, you always have to be at home taking things off, having 2 people in some cases with the hard top. It's not easy, right? Let's just face it. But if you have a hard top or a soft top and you move to a bestop, and it's actually called, the brand name I believe on this is called bestop. So if you see how this thing works, you're gonna love it. It's an absolute, the easiest thing you're ever gonna have to do to take the top down. So let's get right to it and I'll show you what this looks like. So if you look inside the Jeep, there's gonna be these 2 little levers, these 2 little latches that you release. I've already released them on both sides. That's all you do. You simply you pull those latches down from the inside of the Jeep, and the entire top is now going to be able to come up. So you see how that comes right up, and you have full access to the Jeep. So that's basically it. Your top is now down. Let me close this, see it. So basically, that top is down, and that's what it's going to look like when you want to drive it. So it looks a lot like a convertible top, right? And literally all you're going to do is pull those 2 latches, and then you're good to go. I can show you what it looks like from the top when it's down. So that's it. You're going to have the top down in front. And to me, this is what makes it a lot better, because you can do this anywhere, anytime. And if it rains, let's say you're at the beach and it rains, you don't have to worry about it, because you're just going to reach back and do the opposite, right? You're going to reach back and you're going to throw this thing forward from inside the Jeep. And that's it. There's 2 latches on the inside. You pull those down, your top's back up again. So you see why that's kind of like the way to go, especially if you're going to be out and about and you don't know if you're going to have a rainy day or a sunny day. You don't have to worry about it. That's all you need. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about the third modification, an aftermarket head unit that has the Android or the CarPlay in it, right? So the factory audio, this one had the premium factory auto, but even then the head unit on the factory audio isn't quite right, and I don't think it comes with the CarPlays or in the Androids, right? So for the Android Play and the Apple CarPlay, I think it's called Android Auto, right? So it doesn't have that. But if you go with an aftermarket head unit, this is an Alpine, I believe. This is the Kenwood. This is the Kenwood head unit. I want to say it was less than $1,000, right, to get this installed, and pay someone to install it completely. So what this does, it brings you up to, the latest technologies with the CarPlays and the hands-frees, and it comes with some microphones for your phone, so you can do the hands-free on the phone. And it has the front and the rear cameras for backing up and pulling into a parking spot. And the cameras all show up on the heads-up display. So you want all that. And so this is a 2013. I'm sure the new ones come with that, but in our mind, this was a huge upgrade inside the Jeep, and the audio on this is very, very good. It has the premium audio, so we've got the 10-inch sub in the back, and the speakers are all amplified from the factory. So there's actually a factory amplifier with the premium audio on the Wranglers. So you've got, you know, all your channels, all your speakers are being amplified. You've got the more modern head unit, and that's what I would recommend you do. That is a huge upgrade from the audio perspective. Okay, number 4 on the mod list is going to be a lighting control box with rocker panel switches. And the biggest thing on Wranglers is everyone likes to have lighting, right? Let's face it, everybody wants light bars. They want, you know, hood lights. They want bumper lights, right? So all this electrical lighting, you really need to manage the way you connect it, because if you think about it, you're going to have, you know, 6 to 12 wires coming into perhaps the battery if you didn't have a control box. So what I would recommend you do is invest in, this is called a pod, and I think basically the whole concept on all these is pretty much the same. This is your think of this as like your circuit panel at home when you wire in your house. Well, this is your circuit panel on your lighting for your Jeep and other things. You can put anything in here. It has a bunch of slots, a bunch of fuses, but you know that's nice and everything. But what's really nice, and I'll show you this, is in the Jeep itself, you're going to have a rocker switches on, these rocker switches on a bar. So for example, you can turn these on and off. These are all switches. As I go through these switches, you're going to get 6 of them, right? And now it's a little hard to see in here, but basically now everything is controlled off this rocker panel of switches, and that entire electrical box is now being driven off these switches, right? So you have all your lights on, all your lights off, and you can very easily control everything from within the Jeep. And all that's waterproof too, right? So think about the top being down. If water gets in there, it's water resistant. And so now all your lighting, all your accessories goes into that panel, or that rocker panel, 6 switches, and it all comes down into here. It wires into here. So you're wiring into here, and that switch panel controls this box, each fuse position in this box. And you can do a lot with this now. And this is really how you want to do it, because if you don't have this, you're going to have wires and switches all over the place, and it becomes unmanageable. Mod number 5 is going to be Alpine. Alpine makes a really nice subwoofer that is a 10-inch woofer that will mount underneath the passenger seat, and it comes within its own Alpine case. So this system comes also with a 500-watt amplifier, Alpine amplifier, that's dedicated just to this woofer. So you can imagine this Jeep already has the premium audio. So it's already got a different amplifier for the speakers and the factory rear 10-inch woofer. It's got a second under-seat 10-inch subwoofer and a separate amp just for that one speaker, that subwoofer under the seat. And it's got a gain control for it, which is remote. So I'm going to show you those 2 things next. But so this adds a lot of sound. One of the biggest challenges with a Wrangler when the top is down, it's hard to hear the sound. And you need a lot of amperage out of the amps to push the speakers enough to hear the sound properly when the top's down. That's just on any convertible, any vehicle that has a top that comes off. It's very tough to get the sound to be loud enough to where you can actually hear it in the right way. This will definitely take that up a notch. And when you have this thing with the gain turned up and you have the right song on, it is just amazing the sound that you'll get from it. And this is the Alpine, the 10-inch woofer in the case, which is made to go underneath the Wrangler seat, passenger seat. And I will show you, there's a gain control. Now this gain control, it goes counterclockwise or it goes clockwise, right? So if you turn it to the left, you get more gain. If you go to the right, you get less. So you can kind of imagine, based on the kind of music you're listening to, you can go up or down on the gain, which will make it sound the way it should, right? Something that's a little bassier, you can go up on the gain. Something that's not supposed to be so bassy, you can turn that down. So that is an absolute great feature on this kit, and this comes with the Alpine kit. The amp, which I'm going to show you on the other side. So the amp on the driver's side, what we did was we mounted it underneath the driver's side seat, and it just floats, right? There's no real magic to it. This is a regular standalone amp, but this amp is about 500 watts, I believe, and it's set up with the kit. So you get the amp, you get the sub within the enclosure, and you get the gain control, the remote gain control, and it gives you a real good set of instructions. And this makes the audio system, in my mind, in the Wrangler, kind of where it should be. You need something with a little more power, and when you do this modification, you will definitely be happy with the audio. Okay, number 6 on the mod list is bumpers. Bumpers are just an absolute must. If you look at the factory bumpers on a Wrangler, they look like really not appropriate for the side, especially if you're going to do the lift kit and the tires. You need to change out both the front and the rear bumpers. This is really super easy. There's a ton of aftermarket bumpers that you can buy. My preference on bumpers is I wanted something that looked fairly bulky and big, because the Jeep is going to have a much larger appearance if the bumpers are a lot larger. So I went with these, and one thing I'll point out about the bumper is if you're gonna go with the winch on the bumper in front, you're gonna get a winch bumper, obviously, to call it, so it has a spot or a platform to mount the winch. I love the look of a winch, and personally, that's what I went with on a bumper. So I looked for the biggest winch bumper I can get for the Wrangler. And I also, when I did the install, I wanted to preserve the splash guard, or retain the splash guard on the factory splash guard underneath it, because what happens is if you don't, I live in an area that has a lot of salt, a lot of liquid salt on the roads, and salt that's put down in the wintertime. I don't want all that salt to get underneath the engine area and cause corrosion, or at least I want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So this is the aftermarket bumper, winch bumper, that has the factory under splash guards, right? So you can get that on there and retain that splash guard, and you want to. You don't want to leave this open, like I said, because you're going to get salt, you're going to get road debris, rocks, sand, you're going to get all that right into your motor, and you don't want that. And believe me, you live in a salt area, and you see the vehicles that run in these areas, and they are all just completely rusted out, and that's because you get salt and you get debris in that engine area. It's just not good for it. The rear bumper on this went with a similar style. Show you that as much as I can. It's just it's a very heavy looking bumper. Again, I wanted a very large, heavy duty look, and I went with, I want all the same, basically the same color D-rings. These D-rings come with it. I think I may have bought a different set because the ones that came with it were more of a brushed aluminum, and I wanted to go with that flat black look. So the whole Jeep is set up with the flat black, and I have a tow hitch also with a D-ring in there. So the D-rings you'll get with the bumpers will probably not be the flat black finish. So I think I may have gotten those, and I kind of put the other ones I got with it aside. I'm not really using them, but the D-rings are all black. So the whole concept on this one Jeep is that it's the midnight blacked out version of everything. So that's making it really easy when you go to buy stuff. But bumpers, that's a huge modification that you'll make, and they're easy to take off the old ones and put on the new ones. So definitely recommend. Number 7 mod is going to be the winch. So obviously, if you didn't do the winch bumper, you're not going to do the winch. But the winch, in my mind, isn't so much for functionality. It's just for the looks. I think it just looks really good. And if you're going to be off-roading, or if you're going to be going on trails and you're not sure if you're going to be able to get through, obviously the winch is going to come in really handy. Next mod is going to be grab bars. These are the grab bars that are used to get in and out of the Jeep. The factory ones are kind of loose, not as strong. These are heavy duty grab bars in the back as well. If you look at the back, this is the back one. These are all aftermarket, very, very strong, solid steel. Big thing on a Jeep is you don't realize it, but you got to pull yourself up and into it when you get it in and out of it. You don't have to, but it makes it way easier. So having a grab bar that's solid steel, that's not cloth, and not flexible, makes that process a lot easier. So number 9 on the list is the grill inserts. These are really cheap, but make a huge difference in appearance. So these are little plastic inserts that you buy online, and they pop into the grill slots on the Wranglers, and it gives it that more modern appearance. And honestly, it keeps out anything that's going to get in there, like sticks and leaves. And if you didn't have these in there, you could get something sizable really in there. It's almost as wide as a golf ball, so you can fit a lot through there. But the grill inserts is number 10 is going to be the gas cap cover. The factory one doesn't really look as durable. This is the aftermarket gas cap cover. So that would be number 10. That takes you through, 10 modifications that I would recommend from first one being the most impactful to the 10th one being the least. Total cost on all these modifications, you're upwards of about $7,000, $8,000, maybe $10,000, believe it or not, depending on if you do the installs yourself. So like I said at the beginning, people don't realize it, but the Wranglers, they cost a little more, when you get them, they're all stock. And to modify them like I've done to this one, you're looking at about $10,000 more to get it there. So you can see how much it can add up. But in my mind, this is something that you're going to enjoy, plus something when you sell it, they hold their value really well, and you should be able to get a good amount of your money back because they're in high demand and people really enjoy them.